Hello everybody, it's me, your favorite host, Woifi, and we are back with a new episode with me, Woifi.
And me, the real host, Dani.
Translating Love, by the way, if you're wondering what show that is. It's the best relationship podcast in the world, some people say.
We won an award, actually.
Yeah, for best...
We won a potty.
A podcast award for best relationship podcast in the world / in our town. And
/ in this specific neighborhood.
Right. And actually there are a lot of relationship podcasts in this neighborhood, so we're pretty proud to say that we're the best one.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to you people, because you share the podcast and you like the podcast and you subscribe and you give us some love, and we appreciate that.
We do.
Also, I have to say, people come up to me all the time and ask me.
Do they ask you why you make this noise all the time?
Oh yeah, I try not to make that noise. I'm sorry. No, but people come up to me and ask me all the time.
What do they ask you all the time?
Oh, does that matter?
Yeah.
Oh, no, but they ask me all the time, like, hey, I listen to the podcast and I really like it.
So far, that's not a question.
And then they say, but can you do more you and less Danielle?
Oh, I see.
And then I'd say I tried to slowly, move her out of the frame. And replace her with a monkey, especially like a spider monkey. Mm-hmm. I ordered already one. So yeah.
Where did you order one?
By next year, you will be replaced by a spider monkey.
I'm sure our listeners are going to love that.
I know they will, because the thing is, it's not only like any spider monkey. It's a really sophisticated, and I think it even has a degree in social studies or something.
Do you know what social studies are?
I don't know, but it's apparently really smart. It's a really smart spider monkey.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to
hear
it smokes.
The episodes. Yeah. It smokes. It's the only thing.
You won't like that then.
No, I won't. I don't know. I have to figure something out about that. But other than that, we're back with a new episode, everybody. And today we're talking about anxiety, because that's such a fun topic these days.
I wouldn't say a fun topic, but I would say it's a relevant topic.
With all the shit that's going on, pardon my French, but it is shit. So today's Tuesday, what is it? I don't even know. The 3rd of November, and yesterday on the 2nd of November, there was a terrorist attack in Vienna. And yeah, it's kind of crazy to, read all about it and see the news and experiencing terrorist attack over the news in different countries, because it's different when it happens right in front of your house. Mm-hmm. It's not right in front of our house, but it's not far away. It's like a 2-hour drive. And it's still in your country, and that still has a different impact. And I guess many of you know what I'm talking about, sadly.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier that when it first was the news was first coming out about it, mm-hmm. I'm so desensitized because of the US and how often things like that happen, where it's no longer shocking to me when they happen. It still hurts. It still is unbelievable in the sense, how could somebody do something like that?
Yeah.
But it's no longer shocking that it happens. And I think that's really sad.
It is sad, yeah.
And I think that's true for a lot of Americans.
Especially, there are a lot of talks right now about comparing the situation, because we a lot of Austrians never had that experience or never made that experience of being so close to a terrorist attack. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are saying, okay, I can't imagine living in a country like Syria, for example, where that happens almost all the time, or Palestine, wherever. I don't know if I get any country wrong, or even the US with school shootings and other terrorist attacks. And I'm not saying specifically people from different countries or religious beliefs or whatever. It's a terrorist is a fucking terrorist. I don't make any difference. whatever reason is behind that attack. It's to hurt people, to kill people. And fuck all of them. By the way, fuck all of them, because nobody remembers them. Nobody fucking cares about them. And in Austria, all he basically did is unite us more. And the solidarity and the love and the being one as a nation came so, like, I don't know, I've never experienced that in Austria, especially with the pandemic and of course also the populist parties and the right-wing parties, where they do the opposite. They drive people apart with, like, you know, with their beliefs, and especially also Facebook and stuff like that. We don't want to go into that. But a single thing, as awful as it was, and my heart is going out to all people who are affected by it, and to the families of the people who died. But a thing like that shows how, first of all, how fragile we are, but at the same time, how we are as a nation. We are one. We don't just say, okay, we're done. We come together as one nation. We come together as one and unite and are even stronger together. And it doesn't matter what you believe in politics or what you think, you know, with masks, or for example, you know, it doesn't matter. We know that those things that have happened are fucking awful, and we don't give in. And I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, I think it's so different when you experience it like how you normally experience it, where you hear something from the US, like, oh, there was another shooting in Florida, or there was a shooting here, or there was a shooting there. And it's kind of just something that's just said, you know, like it's just, you're flipping through news on your phone or something, like articles, and it's like, oh, there was a shooting here. I mean, and then you say it, and then it's just kind of it.
Right.
And
especially in the US.
For me, every time that's said, every time that either you say it or I find out about it, I'm going into it, and I'm looking more into it. I'm looking at what happened, and I think it's because it's, you know, it's my home, and it hurts so much more when it's your home for some reason.
No, I mean, yeah, I totally get that. I totally understand that.
But and the thing is, I mean, the uniting thing, yes, sure, that's great that came from it, but at the same time, it's just why it shouldn't have to happen in the first place. We should be united enough that shit doesn't even happen in the first place.
No, I agree.
I mean, the whole thing with George Floyd, sure, a great thing came out of that, which is the Black Lives Matter movement.
Or at least a right push in the right direction, yeah. But no, I mean, I think so too. But I mean, as history has shown us, something really awful and bad has to happen before humanity can come together and solve the problem. In most cases, not in all of them, but in most. But I feel like
that shouldn't be the case.
I know it shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case, but that's how it is.
That's what gives me like so. I'm like losing faith in humanity lately.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about anxiety today. Yeah,
but that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm losing faith in humanity. Not all of humanity, but the massed sum. The mass sum of humanity. Not just with, I mean, as we speak, there is an election happening. People are voting in the US for the next president. That gives me insane anxiety right now. And then with all of the COVID stuff, the pandemic, and how it's not being handled in the US, and even how it's being handled here is not great.
Yeah.
And the fact that people could have such an impact on that, like with the pandemic, we can change that just by wearing a fucking mask, and hey, maybe don't go to a party, or hey, don't get together with people.
Yeah.
If we do that for 6 months where we're really strict about it, then guess what? The numbers are going to go down, and
look
we're
at New
going to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people just can't do it. And for me, it's like, the thing that hurts the most is that we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And some of these human beings are trying really hard because they care about other human beings, and they care about the state of our earth and our countries and our whatever, our communities. And then there's people who basically just shit on it. And they're like, fuck it. I'm a selfish asshole and I don't give a shit about anybody else.
The thing is, I don't have a problem with those people in the sense that I mean, I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I'm not in front of those people, but at the same time, I don't have a problem. It's their right to do that, and it's their right to choose that behavior, even though it's super selfish and shitty. So again, everyone's opinion is valid in the whole thing, and it's fine to have a different opinion than the other person.
But I will say with that, I agree. Everybody can have their own opinion on everything. Fine.
Yeah.
But if there are rules in place, follow them.
Right.
And even in my opinion, with this whole pandemic thing, I'm not a scientist. I will not claim to ever know more than a scientist knows. So if a scientist is telling me to wear a mask, even if I don't believe him, I'm not going to say, oh, well, I'm right because I read this article that said this. Yeah, sorry, but fuck that.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
But fuck that.
Right.
Follow the fucking rules. If you have a different opinion, you're entitled to it.
Right. That's fine.
And that's totally fine. But don't put other people at risk just because you don't believe something. I mean, just follow the rules, even if you do it begrudgingly.
To come to back to the whole topic, to the main topic, especially in these times with the pandemic, terrorist attacks or whatever is going on in your country, economy crashing, not having a job, or the election, there are a lot of factors that play or can play negatively into your mental health. But at least with some little things, I mean, we talked about it multiple times. I mean, the things that you can control and then that you can change and that are in your power to change, you should focus on. The things that you can't change, like the pandemic going away, stuff like that, you shouldn't focus on. Rather, try to see it as a chance to change, to make a change for a better after the pandemic life. And the same goes with terrorism. I mean, we can't change the fact that it happened. We can't change the fact that it will happen again. But we can choose how to react to the whole thing. And we can choose how to, as I said, come together and try to be one and try not to be scared of that little thing that happened. I mean, little, big, grand in the grand scheme, but you know what I mean. And it's totally fine if you feel down, and it's totally fine if you, especially in those months again where it's dark and gray and just the weather is shitty. It's fine to feel down, and that's a lot, to be honest. I mean, nobody has experienced the pandemic ever before, in our lifetimes. Not to that scheme, and then with all the other stuff that's happening around the world, it's not super easy to just stay positive all the time, and it's fine to not be positive. And it's also,
it's a lot. I mean, you have to think about it. It's really a lot this year. It's not just for people in the U.S., but for me specifically coming from the U.S., it's a lot.
It is a lot.
The last 4 years have been a lot, but it gets gradually worse the further we've gotten into those 4 years. And then with how everything's been handled with the pandemic and just seeing and knowing that my family's there, and with the Black Lives Matter movement and just seeing all this violence towards people of color, it's really a lot to handle, and it's a lot to take in all at one time. I think this is the best year for all of that to happen with the election. I think that if all of this shit had to happen, might as well have been this year. It couldn't have been a better choice for all of the shit to come down. But hopefully it then pays off with the election. But yeah, like you said, we have to focus on the things that we can change and we can control, and the things that we can't control or can't change are the things that we have to try to not necessarily push aside, but not let ourselves get too pulled into.
Right.
And
you know what we can change right now?
What can we change right now?
To take a break.
That doesn't really make sense.
I don't know, but let's take a quick break. And we're back. We're back, mate. We're back from the break. We watched a little telly. Harry Potter. We're on. I got a tea with some crumpets. Biscuits.
The only thing you can do in a British accent is whatever.
Whatever, mate. The pint of beer, mate.
And then it goes away.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, anxiety. But I mean, I think a lot of people are feeling it right now. Because even, so as an empath, we've talked about that on the podcast before, that I'm an empath. And I feel things from all over the world. And I feel things from people I don't know. If they post a video where they're crying, I'll probably cry. Like, it's just, I feel so much emotion with people. And so I feel it all over the fucking world right now, how hard it is for a lot of people and how stressed people are. And I think for me, what's been so helpful is to, for one, I mean, right now, obviously, with it being election day, it's not really possible. But before this, what I was doing is I basically stayed completely out of the loop with politics.
Yeah.
I mean, not completely. I let myself know just enough to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But nothing more, nothing less. And sometimes comedians right now are quite honestly the best way to get news, which is crazy.
That's true.
But for instance, Seth Meyers is my favorite because he's not biased. I mean, he is biased.
He is obviously
but
biased.
he shows both sides, and he's
sides,
fair, I think, on both sides.
Yeah.
So if somebody is an ass on one side,
Yeah.
even though it's the side he supports, he's still going to call him on it, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But
especially in the US with, I mean, I get it with Fox being this massive monopole of right-wing media propaganda, and at the same time you have those left networks.
It's never fact-checked.
Right.
They never fact-check
and it's
things.
so hard to just, you get your source. I mean, that's bullshit in my opinion, you have one source of news. That's such a, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
If you say I get my news from Twitter, no. And if you say I get my news from Facebook, say no, that's not how it works. You fucking get your news from multiple sources, please. Because the more you get news from only one source, you get dragged into one worldview, and which is not good, unless you have like a newspaper that is so unbiased and does such a well job with portraying the world in a neutral view, which is almost not possible because some newspapers just don't want that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the point is basically, I mean, for me, in terms of politics, it was very crucial to me, especially once we got to a certain point, that I had to just stop.
Yeah.
I stopped going on Twitter completely. I basically stopped going on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I only checked in to see, hey, what's going on right now? Because I just physically couldn't handle more.
I think that's a good point. That sometimes it's good and healthy to just not do that, especially right now with the pandemic news and stuff like that, to just take yourself out of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
it doesn't mean you don't care about it, and it doesn't mean you don't want to advocate for it.
I mean,
but you need a break sometimes.
I think that's a good point, to being able to take a break. That's a privilege, because if you live in a country where war is raging or stuff like that, you can't just say, okay, I'm done with it right now and I'm coming back to that war in like 2 days. Or if you're like a refugee somewhere, they're not able to do that. So if you're able to take yourself out of that loop, it's a privilege, and that's fine, and that's good. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you should also check back in again at some point.
Yeah, it's important to know what's going on.
Right. Because I don't
especially in times like this.
I don't like people who, because there are a lot of people who say I don't read anything about the whole thing. I take myself out of the whole concept of politics, of issues that go on worldwide.
I mean, I know people my age who have never voted in an election.
Right, and that's a problem. It's a problem to not, especially if you're a grown-up,
I mean, if
mature
you're a citizen
person, you should know what's going on in the world. And yeah, it hurts, and yeah, it sucks sometimes. But again, you can get your sources, right? And you can also, you don't have to read only negative things. You can read positive things too. But you should at least know what's going on to a certain degree, so you can voice your opinion about certain issues. Because I think right now, especially, the worst thing you can do is take yourself out of everything and have no opinion about anything.
Yeah.
Because then you basically fuel the bad things by not having any opinions. You fuel the bad things. You should make your voice heard in terms of issues that are important, and issues that need your voice. And you only can do that by knowing things.
Yeah.
But again, it's totally fine to stop doing that for a while because of your mental health.
That was really crucial for me.
Social media can be a hard drive. We talked about that. Social media is a big thing when it comes to especially Instagram with the unrealistic view of things. I mean, right now, thankfully, with the pandemic, weirdly, it's not that thing anymore right now where people live this apparently sane lifestyle or this.
I mean, it is.
But
at the beginning it wasn't, but it's more so now.
But
again.
it changed. It changed at least a little bit. At least from my
it did.
point of view, where the posts are more real.
But I also did the thing, and this is another thing I can recommend, which we've also recommended, is to just unfollow people who don't make you feel good about yourself.
Right.
I mean, who cares? Quite honestly, they're not going to miss you. So, and that also helped because then you only see things on your feed that make you feel good.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want that?
I mean, that's a good point. But at the same time, I wouldn't unfollow or just delete everyone that doesn't support your opinion.
No, that's not what I mean.
But I get
not what I mean. Just
someone who makes you feel bad.
Feel good. If they don't make you feel good, and if they make you, even worse, make you feel bad about yourself, like you look at this person, you just start judging everything about yourself, then that's not worth your energy and not worth your time to see that every day.
Yeah. And a big thing right now is also like, especially with the pandemic and being home a lot, is social contact. And again, we have this technology at hand right now where we can basically, we take it for granted that we can call or text anyone at any time. And it's such a huge thing that connects us on such a deep level sometimes. And I think we don't use it as we should.
I mean, you and I were just talking about this the other day in the car. We were saying, imagine what it would be like if we were going through all of this right now, like everything that we're going through right now, but 200 years ago.
I would say 50 years ago is fine already. Where you have maybe a landline in like your neighborhood.
And or you have to write each other letters in snail mail, which would never, I mean, can you imagine? But we also talked about imagine even longer ago where you could be with somebody, they might be off at war or something, and you don't know if they're dead or alive, and maybe you get a letter from them once every couple of months or something, but they could have been dead for months and then you don't find out. It's just like we take so much of what we have for granted right now because we have this amazing technology that at our fingertips.
Right. We're sitting at home.
You can literally look at the people that you love and talk to them live and see them.
I mean, you have to we're sitting at home on a couch, binging Netflix at the same time, looking at our phones, ordering food online, and complaining that the fucking pandemic isn't over.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
That's...
but I think that's another thing that we can make positive is that you realize that we have all of this stuff that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And try to put yourself in somebody's shoes who doesn't have access to any of that. Or somebody who doesn't have access to clean water. Even something as simple as water we take for granted.
Yeah.
Or just the fact that you can sit at home and sure, there are people who are in really tough situations, who don't have a job, who don't have any income, who are becoming homeless. Absolutely 100%. But the people who are complaining about, I can't go party with my friends, I can't go see this person or that person.
I just can't.
My brother just had a baby, his first child with his wife. I mean, he didn't have the baby, but they just had their first child. It's my first nephew. It's my parents' first grandkid. Yeah. And none of us can go see him.
We would have been in the Netherlands last week.
Yeah.
Instead, I took off and worked the whole week.
Yeah. But those kinds of things since he was born, I have been even more frustrated with people complaining about stuff because I'm like, I live already so far away from my parents. I'm not allowed to fly there right now. Yeah. They're not allowed to fly here. They just had their first grandkid. They can't even meet him. Yeah. They can't fly. My brother lives in Holland and we're so close to Holland and we're not allowed to go there. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking shitty. And then imagine how it is for my brother. Yep. It's his first kid and his family isn't there.
Nobody's there. He's completely alone, basically. Yeah.
It's so shitty.
Yeah.
So it's things like that I think really put everything that we have into perspective. And I think it's really important to remind ourselves of all of this stuff that we do have and not the things that we can't have right now. Because there is no comparison in terms of what outweighs the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in terms of mental health, it's just good to have the perspective sometimes that things are not as bad as the media, the numbers of COVID cases and stuff like that make us believe that they are. But at the same time, it's also good to take off sometimes completely, to say, okay, I'm going to take this day completely off, or I'm going to stay off the grid on the internet, like for a weekend.
That's a great thing.
Taking off Instagram or social media in general, but also trying to use the time that has been given to us right now, again with the lockdown and with this pandemic, to make changes that we can actually like see things happen in the world that we can have an impact on, as it being for like voting or trying to change diets or working out more, stuff like that, or just setting small little goals that you want to reach in the coming month, because this virus won't go away anytime soon.
And get creative.
Right.
Get creative with how you spend time with friends without spending time with them.
Right.
Like, with the technology that we have, there are so many creative things that you can do to still like hang out with them without being in the same space. And
talk to people again. Talk to people. Be open about your mental health. There are a lot of people out there who suffer from the same thing, and a lot of people are suffering from the same thing right now. Depression, anxiety, all that stuff is really high right now.
Yeah.
We talked about it. Go see a professional, a coach or something, or online stuff is available, or just like talk to someone who understands that, because he or she or they might be in the same situation.
And try to remind yourself that, and this is hard for me sometimes to remember, and I think it's important to remember, is that we're all going through the same thing right now.
Yeah.
This pandemic is worldwide. Every single person in the world is somehow affected by this. Whether it doesn't matter who's more affected by it, we're all affected by it. We all feel it, and we're all in it together. And so this is exactly the time that we need to like band together as human beings. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what color skin you have, where you come from, what language you speak. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're all human beings sharing this earth together, and we kind of want to keep it that way.
See.
That's
the only thing I can say.
In Spanish.
Tequila. So yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. Just be good humans.
Yeah.
We're all here together.
And you can also hit us up anytime on our Instagram or send us a message on anchor.fm/translating-love or on our website. And we love to hear about how you feel, how you're going through this time, and what your experience is.
I just want to quickly say, I think it's really important to reach out to your friends, to your family, to maybe just people you haven't spoken to in a while.
Right.
Just ask them how they're doing.
Right.
Because everybody's having a hard time right now. And no matter what's being posted on Instagram, everybody is feeling what's going on. So it can literally save a life just to ask somebody, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
So
I
do
agree.
that. Reach out.
And also, you know what's really good? If you support the podcast and share it, or subscribe to it, or rate it.
It's also really good to eat pizza, which is what I'm going to do now.
And I'm going to take a bath.
I want to take a bath.
Yeah, not with pizza though.
You eat a bath all the time.
Danielle, the last time we had a bath and you ate pizza, the whole pizza dropped into the bath, and then you scooped it out of the water and basically ate the soft, moist bread.
Except that never once happened.
Yeah, right.
You're the one who farts in the bath all the time.
Danielle.
That's such bad bath etiquette.
Danielle, sometimes I have a bad stomach, and that's not something you should joke about, because it's not comfortable.
I'm not making fun of your bad stomach, but it's every time we take a bath there are
it's not true. It's not every time.
Little air bubbles
it's not every time.
Out of the water.
Not every time.
Mm-hmm. Anyways.
That's it.
That's it.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.